Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to have a look at another collaboration beer between two breweries who I think are very well versed in the kind of fruity IPA sour beer type bracket, if you like. So I'm curious to see what this one has in store for us, because it's a style that I have to admit I do quite like. For this review then, we are going to head up to Helsingborg here in Skåne in the south of Sweden, and we're having a look at another beer from Brewski Mikrobryggeri, and this is a collaboration that they've done with Örebro Brygghus, who are of course from Örebro out to the west of Stockholm, a bit further north. So this particular beer is called What Does the Fox Say? It comes in at 6.5% ABV, and this one is a Kveik IPA. And for those of you who don't know, the Kveik yeasts are from Voss in Norway, and they're basically Norwegian farmhouse yeasts, and they give you a lot of lovely kind of fruity characters as well. They're really quite interesting actually. But this particular beer was released on the 3rd, I think it was, 2nd or 3rd of March 2020 through the local and Småskaligt assortment here in Sweden through Systembolaget. So yeah, really curious to see how this one turns out. I've had some really nice beers from Örebro Brygghus recently. I mean, the Rambalon was a really nice sort of straight up berry sour. I also had was it Fruit Kveik or Kveik Fruit or something it was called. It was a collaboration with Lamplighter Brewery from over in America. I mean, that was a really nice Kveik beer from Örebro actually. So I've had some really good beers from Örebro recently, and of course I do get the Brewski things quite regularly as well. Their pie series is definitely worth checking out at the moment if you're interested in the sort of Berliner Weisse style beers actually. So yeah, two very nice breweries here. I would say that Örebro Brygghus are well known for their sour beers at the moment. They've done a few kind of straight up beers. I think the second or third beer I tried from these guys was a regular kind of double West Coast type IPA, but Brewski, as we know, are well known for the big hazy New England style beers and the more fruity IPAs, as well as the kind of Berliner Weisses and a few other sort of sour and fruity beers as well. So two really interesting Swedish breweries that I would recommend you try if you are interested at all in Swedish beers. So try and get a hold of some of their beers if you get the chance. But let's see how we get on with this one then. I'm curious to try a Kveik IPA again. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries involved here before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Brewski and my other reviews that I've done from Örebro Brygghus as well. No doubt you will see more from both breweries at some point in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely, hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Brewski then, on to my brewery notes. We'll go with Brewski first, since these guys are the home brewery in this case. So Brewski were founded back in 2014, and they're based in Helsingborg in the northwest corner of Skåne here in the south of Sweden, as I told you before. So the founders of the company are Marcus Hjalmarsson, Johan Britzen, Alfred Olsson and Robin Skoglund, and all of these guys were largely inspired to get into the craft beer scene because of the West Coast American craft beers. Marcus was actually originally associated with the High Nose brand of beer, which was brewed at Höganäs Bryggeri out on the Kullaberg Peninsula, again to the northwest of Helsingborg, and some of those beers are still brewed there, and I believe some of the very early Brewski beers were brewed up there as well. But these days all of the Brewski beers are now brewed at their own brewery, which you can find in Helsingborg in the train yard just to the south of the central station. But this brewery has a capacity of around 100,000 litres per month. I think they might have actually expanded it even more than that, so that figure may well be wrong. But in 2016 they started hosting their own beer festival, which is called Brewskival, and this is one of the best beer festivals that you're going to come across in Scandinavia. The first year they had about 40 different breweries, and it's continued to scale up year on year. I think last year they must have had about 70 or maybe even 80 breweries, and if I am able to, and if the virus lets us, I will see about going to Brewskival in what is it, August? I forget if it's August or September, but I will see about going to Brewski again this year. But they used to open up the brewery as well once a month, and they call it Barski, but they now have their own bar in Helsingborg as well, which goes by the same name, and this opened back in 2018, and it's really nice actually. They serve a sort of American take on ramen noodles, which is kind of cool. But as of March 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, they've produced around 300 different types of beer, and as I said to you, this brewery are particularly known for the sort of hazy New England style IPAs, also for the sort of Berliner Weisses and the kind of fruity IPAs as well. The Faber series is really nice. I need to review a few more of those for you on the channel, because usually it's the ones that are just coming out that I tend to review. So I do need to have a look at some of the other Faber beers from Brewski, because you know, those are, you know, I really just need to have a go at some of those, because some of them I've not even tried, because I always try the new things from them. So you will see a few Faber reviews from Brewski over the next little while, but a very, very good Swedish brewery, these guys. I wish they would have a go at a few more different styles, because whenever they do an imperial stout, it always turns out to be really, really very nice. So I'd love to see them have a go at like a West Coast IPA, or you know, a black IPA would be really interesting from them as well. I don't think they've ever actually done a black IPA. Correct me in the comment section below if I'm wrong on that, but I would love to see these guys kind of branch out and have a go at producing some different beers. You know, for them to produce a wee pilsner or something like that, I think would be really interesting as well, actually. So be interesting to see what these guys could do if they did try a few different styles. But they brew what they like, and if you like the modern kind of Berliner Weisses and hazy IPAs and stuff, then Brewski are definitely one of the Swedish breweries that you want to check out, and they're very good in this style category, in my opinion. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about Brewski Mikrobryggeri for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer and Untappd pages to learn more about all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's go on to Örebro Brygghus then. So Örebro Brygghus, as I've told you before, are based in the Apsholmen industrial estate in Örebro, out to the west of Stockholm, and this company is run by Anders Gradberg, Jesper Palm and Christopher Mathiasson, and in total there are 8 co-owners of the company, and the brewing is done by Jesper and Christopher, who are both qualified brewers, and they previously worked for Närke Kulturbryggeri in Örebro as well, who are quite well respected actually throughout Sweden. They mainly focus on old English and German style beers, but Anders also worked for Systembolaget for 14 years, which is pretty impressive. But in 2012 they got the idea to start their own company, and they first introduced their beers into Systembolaget a few years later in 2016. In the brewery they've got a brew kit from the UK which can brew 2,000 litres at a time, and as of 2017 they've had a capacity of 200,000 litres of beer per year. From what I gather, is that maybe per month, I'm not sure. But in August of 2018 they opened their tap room, which is called the Örebro Öl Cafe, and over the last few years they've been continuing to grow the capacity of the brewery, brewing a lot of collaboration beers to get their name out there. And as of March 2020 they've produced 40 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. So yeah, definitely one of the kind of more up and coming breweries, I would say, in Sweden. It was, I can't remember when I first reviewed one of their beers, it must have been back in 2018 or something like that, but I do like to keep an eye on what these guys are putting out. And if you, I think one of my favourite beers that I had from them was a raspberry Berliner Weisse, or some kind of berry Berliner Weisse, and I really enjoyed that. So this is a brewery that I always try to keep an eye on, because I'm getting quite into my sour beers these days, I have to say. So yeah, if you're interested in sour beers, then Örebro Brygghus are one that you definitely want to check out. I know that in April they have a lime sour coming out, which I'm definitely going to check out. That's one that I'm very interested to try. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about Örebro Brygghus for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer and Untappd pages to you know, to look at all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. 2 very nice breweries involved in this one, in my opinion. I'm not sure what the reason behind the what does the fox say. I'm not really sure why they've decided to call it that. I mean, foxes are quite cute little things. They're not the smartest, I have to say, in my experience, but they are quite cute little things. But there you can see, what does the fox say? Kvik kvik. You know, I don't know. I actually don't know what noises foxes make, so maybe that's some kind of Swedish joke that I don't quite get. So yeah, this one is a 6.5% Kveik IPA. It says an IPA with Norwegian Kveik yeast. As I told you earlier, the Kveik yeasts come from Voss in Norway, if I'm remembering correctly. And how do you say it? They come, and they're quite different from the farmhousey yeasts that you're going to find in other places. They give you a lot of fruity notes, and they're quite grainy as well from what I remember, but I really do quite like these. I need to get someone up in Norway to organise me a Norwegian beer box and get a few more of these Kveik IPAs down here. I'd love to have a Norwegian beer mule that I could send money to and just get them to mail me stuff. That would be great. So if anyone from Norway is watching and fancies doing that, then let me know, because these Kveik IPAs, I would love to review some more of the Norwegian ones actually. So yeah, as you can see with this one, and as you would expect, this one has poured a lovely kind of, this one's really hazy, you know what I mean? If you were considering this as a regular New England IPA, you'd probably think this is like a triple IPA or something. I mean, just look at the level of haziness that you have on this beer. That looks pretty damn impressive. But this is one of the more murky yellow coloured beers you're going to come across. It is quite bright in terms of its colour, kind of similar to like a mango or a passion fruit juice or something like that in terms of its colour. But you can see there's a solid half finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white on this, perfect white head on this one. It's not even creamy, it is more perfect white. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and there's a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of the head there. But overall it looks pretty nice and kind of what you would expect from a modern IPA, to be honest with you. A lot of the Kveik IPAs do look quite similar in terms of appearance to the New England beers. So yeah, let's have a look at the aroma then and see how we get on with this one. I'm really curious about this. Oh yeah, straight away with this one. Yeah, you can really smell that lovely Kveik yeast in there. It's very woody, and at the same time it's like a kind of dry, almost slightly spiced wood, you know, like sort of spruce or cedar or something like that. It really has that sort of almost spicy, woody note to it. You know, in Japan, I've spoken about this in a few of my sake reviews. In Japan, cedar barrels are quite popular for aging Japanese sake, and you know, I really like the cedar spice, and there's just something about the aroma of this beer that really reminds me of that. The Kveik yeast can sometimes give you that slightly more spicy, woody character, as I was saying. But yeah, the aroma coming out of this is lovely, I have to say. It really is very nice. So you've got that lovely kind of smooth but slightly spicy, woody character in this beer. You've got a lovely on top of that, you've got a lovely bit of that kind of grainy, sort of almost rye-ish type quality to the beer too. You can smell some lovely kind of wheaty, white bready notes in there. You can get a little bit of that more oaty creaminess towards the front of the nose. There is a wee bit of a biscuity sweetness to this one too, which I like. I do like the bit of biscuity sweetness that you get out of this. But yeah, the beer itself comes across as very smooth. I like how this one goes together actually. It's a thumbs up from me from its aroma anyway. So the malty base on this and the yeasty qualities are obviously kind of mixing in with that is really very nice. This is definitely one of the slightly more woody Kveik yeasts that I remember coming across. I'm not sure how many different strains there are, but I mean, the thing with little bacteria is they're always evolving, so there's probably thousands of different Kveik yeast strains these days, probably millions, who knows. But you know, every brewery, when they've got their own Kveik yeast that they're growing themselves, it's going to evolve differently and things like that. It's just the nature of bacteria. Those little guys evolve very fast and change. So yeah, this one, the Kveik yeast in this for me is quite really comes across as quite woody. It's got a little bit of spiciness to the woody quality. At the same time, you've got a lovely grainy smoothness to it, and you can definitely pick up some of the wheaty malts in this beer, a little bit of the oaty creaminess, as well as a wee bit of a kind of biscuity quality for me as well. I love how the malt and yeasty qualities come out in this one. There's some lovely fruity notes to this beer as well. So let's focus on the hoppy and fruity side of the beer now. So in terms of the hoppiness, there's a wee touch, I think there's a wee touch of earthiness to this one, but that's quite minimal. There's a good bit of floral aromaticity, a little bit of a lighter kind of grassy thing to the beer as well, and overall some lovely yeah, some lovely juicy fruity characters in this beer. I really like the fruity side of this one actually. So for me, it's quite mango-y, quite stone fruity to be honest with you. You've got a lovely bit of that. You've got mango in there. You've got a wee bit of a sort of papaya apricot-y. It's almost like, I don't know if it's quite. There's something in my head wants to say that it's a little bit like pomegranates. There's almost a little bit of a kind of juicy pomegranate-y type thing coming out of this one. I might be pulling that out of completely thin air, but there is just something that's almost a bit pomegranate-y about this beer. I think there's a wee touch of a citrusy edge to this one, maybe a little bit of a lemony quality, which is interesting. I don't know what hops are in this one. I mean, going by the aroma, it could be, you know, Idaho, with the stone fruity notes that come out of this, Idaho 7 might be a contender. You know, I don't know about, I think Citra's one of the kind of obvious ones. It could be a little bit of Citra. You know, it could be a little bit of, there might be a wee touch of Galaxy or something in there, but I don't think the darker tropical fruits in this one are pungent enough to be Galaxy. I always enjoy playing Guess the Hops with these beers as well, because it's, you know, it's always just a little bit of fun, but there's something that makes me want to say it could be Idaho 7 that's in here, and there is another hop that the name's not coming to me, but it might come a little bit later. But this is a very soft, kind of tropical, fruity note that I'm getting out of this beer. There's maybe a few sort of peary and gooseberry type esters in there as well. There's a few interesting things, and that's one of the great things about these Kveik yeasts, is that they contribute as well quite a bit to the kind of fruity side of the beer. They give you a few kind of pineapple-y notes and things like that too, which are very, very interesting. So yeah, take a good bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of this beer. I find this it's got a lot of complexity to it for me, and for 6.5%, you know, for the level of complexity you have in the aroma here, I think that is pretty damn impressive. But yeah, difficult to decide what hops, difficult to decide exactly what hops are in this one. So yeah, just take a little bit of time and enjoy that aroma for yourself. But let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. This one is the What Does the Fox Say? A 6.5% Kveik IPA from Brewski Mikrobryggeri in Helsingborg here in Skåne in the south of Sweden, and Örebro Brygghus in Örebro. I think that's Södermanland, out to the west of Stockholm. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål. That's nice actually. First thing that strikes me about this beer, the mouthfeel is very, very wet. This beer's really got a lovely wetness to it, and then the flavour, the rest of the flavours just come in quite nicely after that. I really like how this, how all of this kind of goes together. But it's the first thing that strikes me about this beer, as I said, is just that is the mouthfeel. Actually, I really like how this kind of goes together. But yeah, this is quite different from the other beers that I've had from Brewski before. It's quite different from the Kveik beer that I had from Örebro Brygghus as well, come to think of it. It's really, it's nice though. I like this one. This is one of these beers that makes me think a little bit. I've not had a Kveik IPA in a good while. I mean, I don't know if I could even consider the Kveik beer that I had from Örebro before, the collaboration with Lamplighter. I don't think you can really consider that as a Kveik IPA, because it was more like a kind of fruit beer rather than anything else. But but this is good. I'd love to see them experiment with this a little bit more, because I think the Kveik IPA, it's sort of a quirky Scandinavian thing. I mean, if you think about the Alchemist beers over in America, those are really kind of farmhousey IPAs. They're not New England IPAs, I guess, in the same way that we would associate with the likes of Stigbergets and Amundsen and Gamma, Dry and Bitter, all of these kind of breweries. They are quite different. I think the Kveik IPAs could create a quite, these could be quite interesting, create a sort of Nordic IPA, if you like, a Nordic farmhouse IPA. I really like these actually. I like little quirky things like this. But let's try and break down the flavour a bit and describe it properly. So yeah, in the middle of the palate then you can feel a nice little bit of a woody quality. That blankets the middle of the tongue, and it does have a wee bit of that kind of spicy note to it actually, and on top of that you get some of the lovely kind of grainy qualities. It is almost a little bit sort of rye-like, and then if you move into the centre of the palate you can pick up, there is a wee touch of a kind of biscuity quality in the very centre of your palate. You do get a little touch of that biscuity sweetness, and as you move further forward on the palate you can pick up a little touch of oaty creaminess almost on the front kind of curve of the tongue if you like. But if you go towards the back of the palate there, you've got some nice kind of, you've got a little touch of a wheaty kind of spicy thing coming out of this one. Yeah, I like how the kind of wheaty characters come out of this one too. You do get a little bit of that wheaty bitiness at the back of the palate. You get the more kind of grainy and woody notes sitting in the middle of the palate, and as you reach the front part of the tongue it's a little bit more kind of creamy and oaty. In the very centre of your palate too you get a little bit of this slightly biscuity sweetness, but I would say it really becomes quite grainy and it really dries out a little bit the further you go into the aftertaste. I do like this one though. I really like how this this goes together. If you're a fan of the likes of Heady Topper from Alchemist Brew, the other one's gone. The name of the other one, the one in the black can, pardon me, the other beer from Alchemist. You know, that's, if you're a fan of those types of hazy IPAs, I think you will quite enjoy the Kvike beer. So hopefully this is one that sticks around for a little while actually. I like this. So yeah, in terms of the hoppy side of the beer then, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness there. As you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, you've got some more kind of floral aromaticity. As you go round the front curve of the palate, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy. I'd say that the green side of the hops really leans more towards that kind of floral element, and with the level of earthiness that you've got out of this, I'm not sure if that comes from the yeast or if it could be Mosaic actually that's in there, because Mosaic will give you a little bit of that earthiness. But as you go round the front curve of the palate, you do get a little bit more of the lighter grassiness out of the beer. Then behind the front curve of the tongue, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer. So yeah, for me, if you go to the back of that oily part of the tongue, this beer, it doesn't quite have the sort of pungent, dark tropical fruits, if you like. It really feels as if a good chunk of that's coming from the yeast. I mean, it gives, you can feel this border between the kind of woody part of the palate and then the fruity part of the palate, and it's really, it feels like really grainy, and you might be forgiven for thinking there's a wee bit of grapefruit or kind of passion fruity flavour in that, which is interesting. But then as you move further forward, you start to get softer mango, a little bit of a, you start to get a softer mango, a little bit of a apricot-y and papaya type thing. That pomegranate stuff that I was talking about, I think that's out the window in terms of the flavour. But yeah, you get some lovely light kind of tropical fruity notes out of this beer too, which is nice. As you move right towards the front of the palate too, you'll get a little bit of a you will get a little bit of a kind of mosaic-y, orangey. I do think there is a wee bit of mosaic in here, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's Idaho 7 and mosaic that's in this, because the tropical fruits I think are a bit complex. I don't think it's Citra. I'd be surprised if it's Citra. It tastes a bit different from Citra. I think maybe Idaho 7 and yeah, maybe Idaho 7 and mosaic. It could be one of the New Zealand hops that's giving you the tropical fruits right enough, but could it be Malteri? Don't know, it could be something like that. I've noticed Malteri is making a comeback over here in Europe a little bit, who knows. But yeah, regardless, the tropical fruits are quite light and smooth and juicy, which I really like. And as you get towards the front of the palate, you might just pick up, there's a little bit of a sort of gooseberry-ish, almost, don't know if it's quite strong enough to be lime, but there's a sort of gooseberry flavour just behind the grassy part from the hops as well. But, I mean, overall, this is a really nice, quite drinkable IPA actually. The thing that really struck me with this one was how kind of wet the mouthfeel was actually, but in terms of its flavour, I think this is really nice and very, very smooth actually. So have a go at this one, because this is quite different from what I've had from Brewski previously, and it is quite different to the Kveik beer that I had from Örebro Brygghus about a month or so ago it was now. So yeah, this one gets a thumbs up from me. I do hope we see more Kveik IPAs from Brewski. I think this would be an interesting thing for them to experiment with, particularly when you consider what their repertoire or their portfolio of beers that they already have is. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say this is a fairly mid-bodied beer. The carbonation is pretty smooth, and the mouthfeel overall is very smooth and quite wet. It's got a degree of oiliness to it as well. Yeah, there is a degree of oiliness to this one. The malt base is really quite smooth. It's got a little bit of sweetness to it. It does dry out the further you go into the aftertaste, and of course that's down to the yeast as well. I'm saying malt base, but really I'm including the kind of yeasty flavours in that. So the malt, the sort of middle of your palate on this one is quite smooth, but at the same time it really dries out. In terms of hoppy bitterness, I think this beer is maybe about 30, I think it's maybe about 30ish, 40 IBUs, something like that. So it's your kind of standard sort of New Englandy level bitterness. In terms of the fruitiness, really smooth, leaning towards the lighter tropical side of things, and there is just a wee bit of a citrusy kind of tinge to it on the front of the palate too. But overall, this is a really quite nice IPA, very drinkable, from Brewski Mikrobryggeri and Örebro Brygghus. I think they've pulled off something that's pretty nice here. So it would be cool to see both breweries experiment with these beers a little bit more, or indeed for this one to kind of remain as a regular beer. But it gets a thumbs up from me, and I guess that's all we really need to say about it. So yeah, this one was the What Does the Fox Say, a 6.5% Kveik IPA from Brewski Mikrobryggeri in Helsingborg here in Skåne, and Örebro, who I believe, as I say, I think it's Södermanland that county is, but they're way up out to the west of Stockholm anyway. Another very nice brewery that I recommend you check out. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section, but let me know some other Kveik IPAs that I should check out, and I'll see if I can get a hold of those. But thank you again for watching my reviews, and I will catch you guys very soon. The What Does the Fox Say, a 6.5% Kveik IPA from Örebro Brygghus up in Södermanland, and then brewed at Brewski Mikrobryggeri in Helsingborg here in Skåne. Slange, skål, catch you guys very soon. Cheers.